Welcome back everyone to the highlights of round number 8 from the Mitropa Cup. It was a really shocking round, honestly, because now when I went through the games, it turned out that not only one player lost on time, but it seems to me like two players lost on time in the 8th round of the Mitropa Cup. The first game, the game which I want to show you was Matyasi from Hungary against Vtachnik, which, spoiler alert, we can already, I already told you, they, in this case, White lost on time. But in this game, it was less unfortunate because Black in the end was winning. It was still a nice game, so I wanted to show it. But what appears to be the really unfortunate thing was the matchup in Croatia against Austria, where Lucas appears to have lost on time in the final position, where he's at the very least a little bit better. Before that, he even declined a repetition of moves. He was much better. And also, therefore, Austria played 2-2 in the match. So it is the only explanation which I have. I also checked the chess results, and in fact, White won in that game. So that must be really really painful, not only for the individual result, but also for the team result. Anyway, as I have pointed out in another video, this GM norm won't actually help Lucas in this tournament because he does have two GM norms already, but he needs an open norm, which means that anyway, it's not really about the GM norm, but still it's very unfortunate and a painful way of losing. About the general tournament standings, I think that the tournament has already been more or less decided in both sections. Round number 9 has just started earlier than usual today. And it looks to me like in the open section, Italy is almost a clear winner. I think that a miracle has to happen that France can overtake them. And in the women's section, the same applies with Ukraine. I think they are also more or less the clear winners. All right, so I want to show you this game between Matyasi and Vtachnik. Vtachnik is, I guess, to most of you, a name which you know, a very experienced player. I think that sometime in the 90s he was I would say he was a world class player. I mean, definitely in the top 100, probably even in the realms of top 50 at some point, and very strong and experienced player. I think that there he's more like of a playing captain, because yesterday on round number 8 it was the first game which he played in the whole event, but he played that one in style. Also, he's playing on the last board, so I guess that was kind of the whole idea, that he's only playing if something happens, if someone doesn't feel right, or maybe he will just get one game. His opponent started with e4. Vtachnik, I think, is a pure c5 player. Most of the time he goes for the Najdorf. His opponent went knight c3, and now Vtachnik went for a6. Typically, Najdorf players would start with d6, but as we see in this game, he does have some idea to start with a6, which is that now he's actually not going for d6, but just for the immediate b5, which is a good setup against White's closed Sicilian. So bishop g2, bishop b7, knight ge2, e6, and now White could theoretically transpose to some type of Scheveningen structure, but Black even has some ideas to play concretely b4. I mean, in this case, I think they can win the pawn. Still, I think I saw a recent game here, might have even been in the Austrian league. Could have been by Detsky with White, who had a game here. And White does have some chances to play for compensation, because Black's king is still in the center. Maybe rook e1 can come c3, opening up the position, but also Black should be solid enough not to get mated here in the middle of the board, because he still has the important central pawns here. White, I guess, was still prepared, played rook e1, which is kind of a typical idea here, just overprotecting the e4 pawn. Now, if b4 comes, I think White intended to go knight d5. After which, if black takes, white does have some pretty decent tactical chances, because if bishop e7, there could be d6. And it appears to me like white is probably winning back the material here. So Vtachnik went for the move d6, which is definitely a safer alternative. And now white went for d4. And here I actually quite like what Vtachnik did. He went for knight bd7. The engines say that you still can go for b4. But first of all, you need to calculate some e5 here. Secondly, after knight a4 now, this seems to me like a bit of a different thing, because black has already played d6, which means that the e6 pawn looks to be a little bit soft here. Still, the computer makes it work here, but you know, it does look a little bit risky. Knight bd7 is just a less concrete move. And here white went for d5, which my computer says is actually the best move in the position, but I was not so sure that that it's the most practical, because now black got e5, and it looks to me like a pretty good version of some type of King's Indian, where black already has a lot of space on the queen side. And it's not so clear now on which side of the board white is actually playing. I was briefly thinking if white can try to do the same here to take on c5. Of course, knight c5 is also one option, but then white could play knight d4. So I thought probably dc5 is the idea. And perhaps white could now try to go for some knight d5 ideas. So what I had a quick look at before was if white goes a4, b4, and then knight d5. It's still not clear if black even needs to take. And even if he does take, but at least I thought that here there could be some ideas with either knight d4, knight c6, even though that's probably not going anywhere because of queen c7. But I think this was one line which the computer was saying before, which is pretty unclear, but it seemed to me like it's more in the spirit of the whole line. If bishop g2, there's queen d6, and I think that at the end of all of it, white should be able to regain all of the material. Maybe there could be some endgame in the end with level material, but anyway, some idea like this I thought would be more in the spirit, but it's also not none of it is forced. But I would like to put some knight on d5, as I said. Maybe also immediately it could be another idea, or maybe knight f4 first, kind of a spontaneous idea which I'm thinking of now. Also e5 is actually a threat there. So if bishop e7, and I think e5 is just winning on the spot. d5, it was not a bad move, but as I said here, I think it's not so easy for white to find a good plan. White went for a4 before I saw that the computer gave the move knight b1, which, yeah, also looks a little bit strange. I mean, the knight on c3, of course, is misplaced, but it's somehow hard to believe that this is an advantage for white with losing so much time. Black can go for bishop e7, or even ideas with h5, g6, bishop h6. And yeah, not so easy. White went for a4 immediately, but now after b4, knight b1, black had the important move a5. Otherwise, white would play a5 himself, and then the bishop on b7 is never coming to a6 anymore, and also then white can play c3 next. So I think this is what the computer wants to do here. Start with knight b1, and if black goes for something like bishop e7 now a4 cannot be answered by b4 anymore. Because then again white can go for a5, which is exactly what white wants to achieve. Now c3 is coming next, and black has some problems with the structure. Also the c4 square is going to be quite nice for white's knight. But of course the downside also is that black does not have to go for b4 now, because the pawn on b5 is not actually attacked. So in the game this was played, now a5, and white now went for c4. Still, maybe c3 would have been a better move than trying to prepare to develop with bishop e3, knight d2, keeping the option to play on the queen side. But still, also here, I think that black is doing already quite well. Something like bishop a6, bishop e7, castle looks quite pleasant. Or again, like in the game, black could think about some h5 ideas and not castle at all. But white closed the queen side, and now g6 was played in the game, which is a good way of developing. And after knight d2, bishop g7, knight f1, now bishop c8, which also is a nice move, just improving the bishop, which is not really doing much on b7. White played the move f4, which, yeah, where else do you play? The queen side is locked, and if white doesn't do anything, then black is probably going to do something similar like we've seen in the game without spoilering too much. Still, it's questionable if f4 is not just quite weakening. Black did go for queen e7 now, and white played queen d3, and here Vtachnik played a pretty nice idea, which the engine was not saying is the best, but it's good, and from a human point of view, I think it's a nice move. If you want to stop the video and try to think what he could have done, you can do so now. He tried to evacuate the king on e8. You don't really want to cast a short here. I mean, it's also not a bad move, but black would like to keep the option of playing for an attack on the king side, and Vtachnik did so by playing king d8, which I think is a cool move, because the king is actually going to be very safe on the queen side. He can just go king c7 next. And similar, I mean, what happened on the next move is that he played h5 immediately. I guess he could have also started with king c7 here, but this is the main point of not casting kingside, just so you still have attacking chances on the king side. Also, the immediate h5 would have been good here, just to have that set as well, but also what he played is good. So h5 was played. White played h4, which is understandable, but now also the g4 square is weakened, but already here it's pretty difficult for white. Maybe f5 could be a better try here, so that h4 can often be answered by g4. But yeah, now, for example, black could maybe also try to put the bishop to h6 on this diagonal, and still, I think black is for choice here, because you could play king c7, maybe knight f8, knight h7, bishop d7, just to coordinate the pieces, and the king is just going to be super safe on the queen side, and nothing ever is gonna happen to him there. So white played h4, and now Vtachnik took on f4, which is a good decision, but not what I expected. I mean, king c7 is also very, very natural now, immediately, just to follow up with his plan. But he evaluated this correctly, that he can do so immediately. And white's problem is he would like to recapture with a pawn, but then h4 is going to be very weak. And black, I thought, could do something like knight g4 here. And if white takes, then also the h file is opening up, and white does not have any way to protect the h4 pawn. So white took back with the knight, but of course now also the e5 square is very weak, and the g4 square. So now black has the perfect position. I mean, I would have probably started with knight e5 here. I'm not so sure why he started with knight g4. And then again, bishop d7, king c7, and probably this knight to g4 at some point, and later you can think of opening up the king side by pushing g5 at the right time. Okay, he started with this. Still, if white takes on g4 here, then black can take, and now also the f3 square is weak. I guess black can play knight e5 next, or even bishop d4 first, and then knight e5, perhaps even stronger. And then once again, try to think about opening up the h file by going g5 at the right time. White played queen e2, and now bishop d4. So I assume, now that I think about it, it must have been Vtachnik's idea not to place the knight to e5 immediately, just so you still keep the option of going bishop d4, which is a good and understandable idea. So white played queen e2, now bishop d4, king h1, and now knight d5. Now he got the perfect setup, and here it seems like white tried to execute the move knight takes g4, but in this position lost on time. White should be completely losing here already, which is to some extent surprising, perhaps, for some people, because the material is still equal, but all of the squares are just really, really weak in white's camp, and black has such an easy play with king c7, take on e3 at some point, and as I said, push g5, just opening up the king side. And black's king has nothing to worry about on c7, and white's king on h1 is just going to be super weak. So after knight takes g4, a nice recapture would be to take with a piece, like with a bishop, even with a tempo. But in this concrete position, even hg4 seems to be completely crushing, because now rook takes h4 is a concrete threat, and apart from that, g5 is also coming next, and I don't think that white has any way to defend here. So that was a really instructive game from Grandmaster Vtachnik. Really enjoyed going through that, and of course a pretty peculiar coincidence that on one day two players lost on time, and of course from the Austrian point of view, quite unfortunate. And I hope that Lucas is going to be able to recover from this very painful loss and can show his usual great chess in the final round of the Mitropa Cup, which is being played now. And I'll be back with a recap maybe today in the afternoon or tomorrow in the morning. So if you want to see more of me, you can head to the description down below, check out my courses, go to my website, felixboberger.com for more information. And apart from that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you for the final recap of the Mitropa Cup round number 9 pretty soon. See you then.